Today's episode of This Week in MMO is brought to you by WildStar. Go on over and check out gboffer.com/WildStar.
Game Breaker TV.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. Episode 194. It's July. Is it July 20th? Is it the 20th already? What is going on?
Oh, wow. Yep.
Jeez. Where did July go? It's July 20th, 2014. You're watching This Week in MMO. I'm Gary Gannon from the old GameBreaker.tvs, and pretty much today we're going to talk about nothing but Destiny. Destiny. We got a few other things we may talk about, but I don't know. Destiny's just got to talk about Destiny. Joining me from GameBreaker as well, the noob fridge himself, Mr. Troy Blackburn. How are you, sir?
Happy to be here on the Gary Gannon Talks About Destiny show. And before we get started, I just want to say hashtag PC Master Race. That is all.
I agree with that. Yep. PC Master Race. And joining us as well from GameBreaker.tv, Mr. Justin Kennedy, JKKTV. What's up?
I'll disagree with New Fridge. I'll convert to somebody who buys me a PS4.
Oh, yeah, there you go. He is for sale, everybody. Buy a PS4. He doesn't care about PC anymore. Yeah, we're going to flip the script today. I'm going to so basically Destiny, game a lot of people have been waiting for. Beta kicked off, was it Thursday on the PS4. I have played it a ton. You two gentlemen have not. So we're going to flip, we're going to flip the tables this week. I'm going to throw it to you two gentlemen to basically come at me and I don't know, ask me whatever you want. I don't know. Since you haven't played it, I've played, I think, 2 characters. Well, I played a Titan up to max. Well, no, it's like level 8 or 9. I didn't max level, but through all the story stuff and some P versus P, and then jumped over on a Warlock. I've played that a bit. So I'm just gonna turn it over to you guys. You guys just fire away. I don't know. You haven't played it. What are your questions? What are you wondering about?
What do they make available? Just to start off with that, I guess. Like, what was available to do?
So there are, I'll probably get the numbers wrong, but I believe it was like 4 story missions or arcs, 4 or 5, and also an exploration mission. And I guess what they're calling a strike mission, which is basically like, I guess what we would consider from the MMO world, a raid or a dungeon. So a good amount of content, and then obviously 2 maps in the Crucible, which is the player versus player stuff. So I think all in all, I kind of did on my first playthrough, I did all the story stuff. I think you can get through all of the story stuff, including. I didn't finish all the exploration missions. I did about 2 of them. I think there's 5 of them. We can get into what those actually are if you want. And then did the strike force as well. There's strike mission, whatever it's called. I can't remember. I think I did all of the content in around, I don't know, 4 or 5 hours. You can keep leveling up apparently. Like it wasn't I don't know what max level is. Chat room will tell me. What was max level? 8 is max. Yeah, 8 is max level. I think I got to like level 7. So I guess you can keep leveling up, you know, if you do more PvP and stuff like that, because you can level there as well. But then I kind of jumped on and played a different character. So I think it was a pretty good amount of content for a beta. I didn't play an alpha. I missed that weekend. I believe it might be the same from a couple weeks ago when we saw some people streaming. I don't think that they've really changed the amount of content that you're able to see. And then we had babies together. Destiny and I had babies, or was making a baby.
In case you were wondering what he thinks of the game, ladies and gentlemen.
And now we're just gonna wait.
Did it feel like a lot of tutorial content? Was it a lot of that, or was there tutorial stuff at the beginning, or was it just kind of jump into gameplay and go?
So it drops you in. First of all, I just got to talk about the graphics and just the world. It's jaw-dropping beautiful. It's unbelievably just the art direction is stellar. I mean,
any comparisons?
No, I mean it's like because the only area you get to see is this. Maybe the main area that you're in, kind of hang out in, is called Old Russia, which is on Earth, and it's basically post-apocalypse Earth. So it's post-apocalyptic sci-fi, which is just so it's like it's got that. You got that little twinges of like, Mass Effect kind of like really slickness, but at the same time, there's just like, just rotted out cars and just this area's just been riddled with just destruction. But my God, like there were times it's got that feeling where you just want to look around every corner and look for stuff and look out at like, just skylines and vistas and sunsets. And it is the first game on the PS4 where I'm just like, oh my effing God, I'm so glad I have a PS4 that I can experience this right now. It's just it's
actual next gen graphics. Then you would say
actual next gen graphics. Like I don't know if I've even seen something on my PC that I think looks better than this. And I have a Titan.
Wow. Do you actually have the opportunity to experience it or do they actually force you kind of through, like if you do the story arc and stuff, do they kind of like linear force you through stuff, or do you actually have time to explore the area and look at how awesome it is?
So it's definitely not, it doesn't seem like it's going to be like an MMO, like open world exploration kind of thing. I mean, there's definitely a storyline here, and it's going to literally, you're going to be going through that step by step, right? So you are going to have to follow a path on the single player mission story side kind of things. I mean, that's how you guys, if they didn't do that, you really couldn't tell a story. So they do kind of, I guess, as you start progressing through and opening up those story things, other things do start opening up. Like I mentioned something called like the explorable missions, which is where they take some of these, like the same area of old Russia, and it's kind of like they add sort of side quest kind of things to do in this open area, but the open areas are not like what you're thinking of, like a World of Warcraft or something where you're just running across like like miles and miles of terrain. Like they're large sections of map that you are on, so they are confined. It's not like you can just run from zone to zone to zone. It doesn't really work like that. Everything happens in your ship. You set your destination on your ship. You tell it what planet you want to go to. You go to that planet, there's a map that opens up and basically gives you like, hey, here are your options. These things are locked. These things are open to you. Click on one of them. Your ship goes down. Basically, like you land. In the beta, you're pretty much confined to old Russia. So you only kind of see this one area.
So it is lobby-based.
I mean, considering what you see, when you say lobby, I always think about like a lobby, the old school of like, here's a bunch of people playing the game. Who do you want to play with? No, it doesn't do that.
But menu based, I guess if you're sitting in your ship and you're selecting them, and you're just going through a menu, basically. I guess you can say like Mass Effect.
Yeah, it's like Mass. It's like
choose a place.
Exactly. It's similar to Mass Effect where you bring up a map and it shows you the universe, and the planets will unlock, I guess, over time. And I imagine you're going to have to probably upgrade and get better ships to actually go farther, deeper into space. They start you out with the tower, which is your main social hub area, which we can talk about how that works a little bit. You have Earth, which is old Russia, which is where you're going to do most of your content missions. And then you've got the Crucible, which is where you do PvP stuff. And then later on, towards the end of your beta experience, they unlock and show you the moon. But when you click on there, it's literally just a carrot dangling on a stick because everything is locked, and it just says like, the game launches on October 9th. We'll see
this
then.
This could be really cool.
Yeah, it's like, don't forget, we're going to launch this day, and here's more content that's locked, and you haven't seen it yet. So that's
where the wizard comes from, right? From the moon?
Yes.
The wizard comes from the moon.
The
wizard. Not anymore, apparently. Not anymore. Yeah, did it still feel like a giant open world, even with the kind of the small, little zones you were in? Were you able to jump around maps enough to get a feel for whether it made it kind of feel instanced and small, or was it just kind of that one map that's all you really got to do?
So the one thing I think that people are gonna like, how can I say this? This doesn't really feel like a bad thing to me when I was playing the game, but you're gonna find yourself going back to this old Russia area time and time again. So like early on in the game, it's like you're gonna do a mission, and then maybe after that mission, there's some rewards to be available, and it shows you that, hey, maybe you should go back to the tower. So the tower is the social area. Let's talk about that really quick. The tower is the social area, and at the tower is you're going to see like players running around, and you've got like an MMO. You've got your bank vault. You've got your gun, armor, your NPCs, your sales guys, all that kind of stuff. And you've got they're not really trainers, I guess, but you've got your class guy there who also gives you rewards and sells gear for you. So you're going to be kind of going back there, and you could utilize that to sell gear, or not really sell gear, but you deconstruct gear actually, but to buy new guns, new gear, unlock stuff, get rewards, check your mailbox, go to your vault. So it's your social hub. Again, and it's an area, so it's instanced. It's, you know, it's definitely not connected to anything else. It's like go there, leave there, go there, leave there. I don't even know where I was going with that. There's just so many different avenues we can go with this. So but that's how the social so see the social aspect of that area. The tower is going to be where you say like, hey Justin, Troy, let's go meet up at the tower. We'll figure out what we're going to do from there. Maybe you go in there and you create your team there. Maybe, I mean, you could do this probably outside of there as well and just do it on a friends list, but, you know, create your team, whatever finds people to play with. And then you'd be like, hey, I want to go do this mission. And it doesn't really matter whether you two guys have done it or not. You could just say like, hey, I'll go along with that. Let's go do it.
So did you play Guild Wars 1? I guess there would be like districts in there and stuff. Like everyone meets in this town and stuff, and then they go to the one they're doing. Yeah,
I think the difference with Guild Wars 1 was Guild Wars 1 kind of put those districts like in between zones as well. So like as you did content, you hit another district zone where you'd see everybody, and then you would venture off. So it's a little different where this is just one place. So it's one city, the tower. And that's pretty much it. And you don't really get there. You don't get there from anywhere else other than your ship just flying with a cutscene. So it's kind of instant like that.
When you're out in the map zone, is it instance to you? Do you see other people? Is it just you unless you bring friends?
So no, you see other people. So you drop down into that map and you will see other people running around. Not, I mean, I don't know how many it's going to be when it launches, but it looks like it's to be pretty much restricted. They don't want like too many people, I guess, in that area. So I guess they really kind of leave it up to you on those types of missions, whether you want to group up with them and go and do something together, or just go in the opposite direction and go do something else and do it on your own. I did a bunch of them solo. I started playing really super late at night, and I really didn't see anybody even on. Even when I went to the tower in the social area, I didn't see people, and I was confused. I was like, man, this kind of what I'm thinking this area is going to be is where I'm going to see a bunch of people running around, but I don't see anybody. So I didn't even know if that's how it worked at first. So yeah, you can go down, you can form groups, you can kind of go along your way with each other, or you can just kind of go in a different direction. It's done really well. I actually really like their system. It's kind of hard. I'm trying to figure out how to explain it. I've been trying to figure out how to explain it for like 2 days to people, because they really have created a hybrid. They've looked at like what an MMO does, and then they've looked at like how single player, just story arc driven RPGs work, and they've definitely created something new that hasn't really existed before. For the MMO fans out there, the only thing I can kind of think of is that this to me feels exactly like what Skyrim fans wanted Elder Scrolls Online to be. Because this was, I've said time and time again in the show, like when I talked about like, you know, I love single player RPGs like Fallout and a lot of Bethesda stuff and Mass Effect. And there's always that point when I'm playing those games and I'm like, man, I wish I could just like go play with Justin could join me and Troy could join me on this mission. This would be fun if it was just three of us. And that's exactly what Destiny is.
That sounds like what a lot of people thought ESO was going to be.
I'm actually, I mean, it's more intriguing than I think MMOs sound nowadays. Like, I mean, WildStar launched recently, and I'm in there right now running through a level 50 zone, and it's empty. It's dead, and it's pretty much an instance. It has to be. And I feel like there's hardly anybody else around me I might run into. So is it better? I know it sounds like Destiny is just like, you know what, maybe that's the way. Does it seem like the way games start need to going? They're already instancing
on a console?
into 50 phases and stuff, even on PC. Like, they phase stuff everything now.
I honestly, right now, it feels really good. It feels like a really good system, because one thing that I really love about single player RPGs is the story arc. Like the story arc, when it's really done well, forget the controversy of like Mass Effect and stuff, but I love those types of games. Like I love that, like following the story with really great cutscenes and like, you know, and that whole thing. So it keeps that intact and allows you to do that, but allows you to do it with your buddies. And you can drop in, drop out. So we could do it, but then tomorrow if I want to keep playing, it doesn't matter if I have you or not, I can still keep playing it and keep progressing my story. And we can kind of just like, it feels very fluid. It feels very like natural to kind of play the game like that. But I like the fact that like I'm now going to be able to like go to some of those places with some buddies and on headset and experience it with somebody else. It's really interesting. I mean, some people in the chat room are saying like, you know, it's a hybrid. It's like they've looked at some of the features of what MMOs do really well. Levels, progression, because you have levels, you have gear progression, and
How
you
is
know,
that? Like, what is the gear progression? Just like
in
gear,
what way?
different levels, or like is it just different levels of gear, or is it
Yeah,
tiered,
so they,
or-
you know, they all have stats. You know, they all have like an attack rating, and they have like different stats attached to them. And as you do missions, you'll get, you know, mobs will drop, you know, sometimes things, or you'll get them from rewards from completing missions and things like that. Or you can go buy stuff from vendors, so just like an MMO. I don't believe there's any crafting. I looked around. I even looked online to find out if that's the truth. I can't tell. I don't think there's crafting involved in Destiny.
I don't know if console players would give a crap about crafting.
Yeah, I don't know. I couldn't find anything.
Would they care at all about that?
They wouldn't even know. They're like, "What is this? What's this place over here?
What is this?"
Like, make something. I just you kill something and you get it.
There's what looks to be like rep NPCs that also have gear. So it looks like, you know, if you want to join like the Crucibles, you can go over them, talk to them, join them, and then build up Crucible points. You could take different. So there's like 3 or 4 different types of currency that you could then turn in for different types of gear and emblems. So it's got all that like MMO collectible, you know, that sort of like collector side of the MMO and the progression side of always constantly getting new gear and new weapons and upgrading and things like that. And you're looking cooler and more badass. And the levels, yet you're still keeping this very sort of straightforward linear story evolving. The big question becomes is what? Go ahead.
I was just saying, well, you said a little bit ago, like you went to that old Russia more than once or something like that, which that starts sounding like if that's for different missions, is it? Or do you think we're going to have a lot of repeatable stuff like that? Because that flashbacks to Dragon Age 2, where I went and repeated the same place over and over again.
So that was the exact thing that I started wondering when I got that. By about, I'd say I didn't mind going back to old Russia, but there's a point in the game that I'd say about 3-4 hours in, and you get a mission, and you basically go back through the same area that you did. And literally through the same like corridors and building that you went through. It usually gets to a point after that then even goes further than you did last time, so it changes. But people who've played it probably know what I'm talking about. I can't remember, but there's like this one sort of I don't know, like a control room kind of thing where if you've done all the story-driven content, I think you've cleared that room like 3 times. Like you've cleared mobs out of it. Like it changes every time slightly with the mobs, and they get harder, and they add a wizard and this, that. And then sometimes it opens up other areas where another door will be open and you kind of go farther into it. But I do have to say that was the one thing about the game. I was like, man, I wish I wasn't coming back here again. Like I kind of was at the itch where I was like, kind of wish I saw something else in a different part of the world. And maybe you brought me back here later, but maybe not so soon.
Yeah. That's what I was going to ask. I assume probably you hadn't got far enough in to know where, like maybe hours and hours down the road, something would bring you back to this map again when you were level, I don't know, 20 or something, instead of like between 8 and 9, and then you go back.
And that's what I don't know. Like very early on with this, it almost feels like they might confine you to this area and run you through this for like a little while of doing a bunch of different things and then take you somewhere else. And I don't know if that's going to repeat or not when you get to that next area. If it is going to feel a little confining. It wasn't so confining that I was annoyed or I was like, I don't want to play this game. But it was just like, oh, I wish I could see a different environment right now. Like, I wish I could see a little bit more than just...
Yeah.
Run me through it backwards or something.
Yeah, something. I mean, and again, like I said, it starts taking you farther and farther into the map. Because they have a really great system. I love the whole ghost thing. Like, you know, you have this little like ghost and you bring it up and it tells you where your objectives are and things like that. And I think it's a really good system. And it takes you farther and farther into it, and then you start doing different things. But like I said, if you go through all that content, you're going to go through a couple areas like 2-3 times max. And I was like, oh man, I wish I was kind of moving on a little bit. But the guns feel great. I mean, it's Bungie, right? That's important. We were talking about combat.
Sound effects good with it.
Yeah. As a shooter, how did it feel?
Design.
Because that's going to be super important here. Because at the end of the day, that's what this is.
Yeah, sound effects and animation for recoil and stuff. I mean,
I think it's phenomenal. It's Bungie. The gun, like I was a little bit afraid that the guns might feel a little too sort of like pew pew lasery, like because it's sci-fi, but they have impact. The sound design in this game and the soundtrack in general is awesome. Like they really, I think, nailed the soundtrack. The music is great, how it changes, things like that. The guns sound and feel awesome. The AI is really good. They're smart, and I'm only playing at really low levels, so hopefully they progress and get even better. But I mean, they really know when to duck. They seem to like, if you got a bead on them and you're trying to wait for them, they usually like a lot of times don't come out of cover because they know that, you're kind of like got your sights and crosshairs on them.
Is there mission difficulty options? Like, can you do like different versions of the mission?
Yes. So I didn't even get to that, but yes, after you do an area, I believe you can do the same area again on hard mode. So there's different modes as well.
Okay. That's going to appeal to a certain amount of player for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
is it all first person? Is there any third person at all? Is it all?
It drops into third person when you go to the tower. So in the social area, it drops to third person, which makes sense.
In the gameplay, how was the FOV and the head bob? Because I know you have a little bit of sensitivity issue to that, and that bugs the crap out of me. So how was that?
Did not affect me one bit. I mean, I do. I get the motion sickness and get nausea a lot from FPS. Did not have it at all. I mean, I didn't actually even check in the settings if there's a setting for FOV. I don't know if there is. I don't believe there was, but I
guess Bungie probably has enough experience to know. To set
think so, if anybody was going to get it right, you would think these would be the guys.
Yeah, it felt really good. I mean, they've got some controls like your normal inverse and stuff like that for look and stuff like that, and sensitivity on the sticks. Which, pro tip, definitely increase your sensitivity on the sticks. Was trying to do some PvP and was just like, oh my god, it just feels like really floaty and slow, and it's like, yeah, you got to increase that sensitivity and make that thing spin around really quickly.
So what about the guns and stuff? How many different guns and weapons did you get to try, and how did those kind of feel? And what all different kinds were there? What did they do?
So here you go, tons. I mean, I getting new guns almost all the time. Like, you've got a primary weapon, a secondary weapon, and later on you'll unlock a heavy weapon. So you can always have 3 weapons on at all time on your person. And just according to your play style, you can kind of like, when you get, say, like rewards and stuff from NPCs for doing missions, it'll give you a bunch of options of about 5 different types of guns to choose from, whether you want, go for the, like, just heavy hitting, sort of medium to short range kind of stuff like shotguns, or if you want something a little bit more long range, like just an all purpose, like, assault rifle, or they've got, more like pulse lasery kind of like sci-fi kind of like guns.
Are there classes at all, or do you just gear out to play the way you want to play?
Chat wants to point out that you said increase sensitivity on the tip.
Oh. Increase sensitivity on the tip. I need a shirt with that. 3 classes. So you got Titan, Warlock, and some sort of Hunter, I believe. Chat room will tell me. I forget. I didn't play that middle one. I started. It looks, and I just scratched the surface on the Warlock. So you got Titan, which is basically your all around, just total soldier. You're all around just, guns blazing soldier. Warlock is more of a one gun / kind of magic wielding guy that can do things with powers. And then I believe your other class, the Hunter sort of class, is going to go for a little bit more like marksman-y, sniper kind of feel.
Type stuff, yeah.
And do you have to choose like one class for your character, and do you have multiple character slots?
Yes. So you have multiple character slots. When you start the game, you have a choice of 3. I don't know if I believe that's all that they're going to have of those 3. I'm not sure.
They have to go. Do they have to all go through the story again?
Yep. You start right back over. So it's definitely
that might be odd for console people. I don't think they're really used to having here's 5 character slots, play through each of them for shooters and stuff.
No, isn't that how? I mean, isn't Mass Effect? You start a new character. If you want to roll a different character, don't you have to start over? You can't just like switch them over to a different.
Yeah, I guess.
I think it's pretty. Yeah, I think it's pretty normal actually.
Do you like gain XP with those classes and spec into things? Does that class progress?
Yep. So you've got your your XP level that's constantly going up to when you're going to level. And then it looks to be, Chatham can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that your abilities unlock the more you use them. So depending on how you play, I think you start gaining more experience in those areas. So punching is so much fun. Fist just punching people in the face, boom! So much fun. So when you level, so the
shooter punching.
Yeah, your melee is great. I love the melee. So yeah, I think if you use that a lot, so what happens is once you complete the amount of XP you need in that, it'll tell you there's an upgrade available, and then it'll give you an option, and then you unlock that, and you have like a new ability. And that's how you unlock some new abilities with like your bumper buttons and things like that on your R1 and R2s. And then as you keep using those will level up down into the tree. So it's not like a point system. It's not like you leveled up, you got 2 points to spend. It's more of a here's a grid of a bunch of abilities that are possible. These are the ones you're obviously like utilizing, like you're punching a lot of people. So this green line's filling up, this green circle's filling up. And then when it reaches max, you can then choose that ability to upgrade it, and then you will work on to the next one. So it's not a point system.
We're talking about with the controller, how many abilities can you have on your, like, I guess, be able to use at any time during a fight?
What do you mean by it? So, I mean, you've pretty much got,
like, 5 abilities, 6 abilities. I mean, what kind of...
No, it's not like... Well, I guess so far in the beta, what I've unlocked, so you've got left trigger is to sight your gun. Right trigger is to fire your gun. And then your D-pad looks to be all emotes. So that's how you do your emotes. Really easy. Then you've got buttons. You've got a jump, crouch, reload, and something I can't remember right now. Chat room will tell me. And then if you want to sprint, it's like as you're moving left stick forward, you know, you click that's the stick in, and that's sprint. And then as you unlock abilities in the tree, my first one was, I think, grenade. Oh, grenade. So that was like left bumper. So you got left bumper, then you're going to unlock like right bumper. And then I unlocked something that actually had both bumpers. So if you did both bumpers, it did something else like smash the ground. So I don't know how much more the combinations could keep going after that, but it looked like shooting, your, you know, maneuverability kind of things and reloading are there, and then you've got your bumpers. I don't know if it gets more complicated than that. I have no idea.
I assume you can just swap weapons in the middle of combat and everything, just kind of swap as you go.
Yep. You're on a PS3, the triangle button. Hold down the triangle button, it'll cycle through your weapons. You know, just grab the next one, really quick and easy to kind of do that. So usually at all times you got like a medium or long range weapon, and then, you know, guys get close on you, hit it, grab your shotgun, punch them in the face.
Did it look like with the abilities you're going to actually have a lot of customization possibly? Like, am I going to run into another person, a warlock, and be like, hey, we're exactly the same ability-wise, or...
I kind of don't think the game matters if it's like that. Like, I don't know if that's going to matter in this. Like, it's not like an MMO. I don't know if players are going to care in Destiny that much if other players would, like, spec the same way. I don't think it matters that much. Maybe it does when it comes to PvP, and I don't really know. And I don't know how you would tell just coming across other people, but I don't see people really caring.
So it could work perfectly fine with people.
Because it doesn't really
you do that.
Well, it doesn't really have the game, to me, doesn't have the aura of the MMO of like the guild and like the guild group thing we're going to go do in the meeting. It's very much about like small groups of friends, like 1 to 3, which I hear that increases later on after 3 people. But in the beginning, you can only do these missions with 3 people max. That's it. So you can't even take anyone else along with these things. So it's very small and kind of intimate. It's about sharing experience, I think, with your friend more than it is about having, like, you know, a 5,000 person guild to go do like raids with. It's not really, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen on later game, but.
Yeah, I was going to say, I assume it's way too early on to tell if there's going to be like a preferred group composition, like everybody wants, you know, one of these, and nobody likes this class until somebody buffs them or something.
I don't think it's going to be like that, because there's no, I mean, there doesn't seem to be like any healers. There doesn't seem to be like, you know, I don't think that's what they're going for. I think they're going for like, because you could play the game from start to finish solo, just like a straight up single player RPG. And now
so it's more like we're going in, we're going to shoot stuff, and you just shoot it how you want to shoot it.
Yeah, I think so. And like I said, good.
How's the communication with people then? Like, I'm guessing it's all voice.
You can do voice. I didn't hook up my headset to do voice, but I could see people all standing around, and you could see the little dots above their heads, you know, that they're chatting with each other and stuff like that. So they are talking to each other. So there's voice. There's no text, obviously. So then what's really interesting too is, so then but when you do come across the what are called like the strike missions, I believe, if I'm remembering that right. Charam can correct me. I think they're called strike missions. You get 1 in the beta. And this essentially is kind of like, I guess, what you'd be their raid or, you know, counter. They're completely apparently they're not mandatory to do. They're not really like, you know, you don't have to do them to progress through the story at all. But at one point, I think it's called the Dragon's Lair, I believe it's called, or something lair, opens up, and I think it's for 3, maybe. Could it be 6? I don't remember the number. I did it with 2 other people. And what's really nice about that is that I wasn't planning on playing with anybody, but it immediately does a matchmaking for you, just like it would in PvP. gives you 2 other people to go play with who also are about to do that thing, and instantly you're now with those 2 other people, or however many it's going to be, doing that raid, I say that in quotes, with them. Super fun.
So it was really easy, really simple to get a group. It just happened and you were boom in. Which is going to be key to really getting that to run smooth on a console.
Took 2 seconds. There's no like, I am a Titan and we needed this and we needed that. There's none of that like LFR stuff. It's just, it just puts 3 people together and you're off and you're going, you're doing this thing.
I feel like I would enjoy this a bit. I'd actually think I enjoy this more than like the typical MMO nowadays, because it's all, everyone goes into those MMOs on PC and just, I'm going to solo through all this content all the way up to the max level, and you never get to play with anybody, really. Everyone's off doing their own thing. I like the idea that I can just go in and go, I don't know who the heck you are, but hi, let's do this together.
Yeah, and you don't even really have to converse with them, right? Like, you don't even have to talk to them if you really don't want to. You just want to play with them, because I didn't have my headset on, so I just like went and we played. The mission that they give you on the first one is incredibly challenging. Like, it takes a while. I mean, it took us at least like 45 minutes or an hour, I'd say. Lot of like, so it's kind of like, work your way through areas, killing trash, things like that, unlocking stuff, and then getting to areas that are kind of like horde modes of just like 2-3 mini bosses, tons of mobs. They just keep rushing you, and it gets like, I was watching my buddy play it as well, because I watched him do some playthroughs, and that's where I think like they have gotten the balance of the feel of what the game feels like to the player. It's like they're freaking wizards at Bungie, because they've got like you right on the edge of. My buddy was standing up in the middle of his room. He couldn't sit down because it was so intense, and he was standing while he was playing, and he was just like on the edge of just like, oh my god, like at any second he felt like he was about to die, and this was all gonna go to shit. Oh, and I should tell you this: when you enter these areas that get really tough, you enter this area that tells you, yeah, there's no respawning in this area. If you die here, you gotta start back at the beginning, and it's brilliant. It's brilliant because it gives you this like anticipation of like, I can't die here. I gotta like really. So he's standing there and he's just like intensely playing, and he's like, oh my god, and he's like sweating, and he's like, oh, this is like crazy. And how many are there? And he's looking at me, go like, how many more are there gonna be? Like, I've killed like 4 bosses, these waves, and I'm like, yeah, you probably got about 4 or 5 more waves of this. Like, you just started this, like, and they just keep coming. But they've found this really great line of where, as a player, I felt like I was going to die at any second. I felt like I probably couldn't even achieve this. And it was like, I was so stressed out getting through it, and I didn't die, and I actually achieved it and actually beat it. And when you're done, you just want to like throw it out of control and be like, I'm out, I'm dropping the mic.
Retiring, run now.
Like, my whole body could just like go like, okay, I'm okay now. All right, everything's good. And that, it's a really great feeling that they can like ramp you up to that level of like white knuckle, like, wow, I'm really fucking playing this game right now. To the point, and then you're like, I gotta put the controller down. Be like, I did it. It's good.
I guess I have to ask: is the potential of this game to be a Halo killer?
I don't know. So and that's the weird thing. I think that is what everybody's going to ask, and the MMO people are all going to ask on the flip side is like, how does the community, and like, I don't know how Destiny's like, because we haven't seen what it looks like at Endgame, so I have no idea what they have in store. They've already said that Endgame is going to be pretty easy to get to, and it's not going to take a very long time to get to Endgame. And the reason that they want, or max level, I should say, not, I don't know what they definitely said max level, not Endgame. So I know their thought on that is that, just like what you were saying before, JK, about how the thing you don't like about MMOs anymore is that like if you jump in late or something, all my buddies and everybody in the guild's max level, I'm level 1, it's gonna take me forever, and then you get to like level 10, you're like, screw this, I'm never gonna get to as high level as you guys, so I'm not gonna play. They want players to be able to get to max level pretty quickly, to be able to always experience the content with other people and have people to play with. At that point, though, then I ask the question, what is there to do? I don't know. I have no idea, like, so let's just assume for a second, again, I don't know this, but let's assume that you do all the story content, and that's what gets you to max level. And if they're saying that that doesn't take very long, then that means there's not a ton of story content. What do you do then? Like, when that's done and now I'm max level, like, is the only thing to do Crucible PvP stuff? I don't know. Or go back to them on hard mode.
I wonder if the gear and stuff progresses like way beyond 50 in reality.
I do know that they have said that they want people to focus more on upgrades and gear. So you will be able to keep accumulating better gear and stuff like that. Yes, that's definitely true. But again, is that going to be going back through? So you basically go back through everything in hard mode, get more currency, you know, rep for things like that, and then also there's PvP gear and Crucible gear and all that kind of stuff. Sounds
I think a lot of developers have learned that the hard way, that just sometimes players don't like playing something just for the fun of it. They want that reward. They've got to have that carrot at the end. They've got to have some form of progression along the way. So it's going to have to be more than just, you know, you're level 50, just go do stuff now. There's got to be something out there for them, because players just, it just seems like any game that doesn't do that is just kind of, people are kind of like, okay, where's my reward when I do this?
But that's the big difference too, though, right? Because we know that like MMO players like to always have more content, which to them means more zones, more raids, like more stuff built. Console players can be very much happy like playing like Halo maps for years, right? Like COD maps. Like you release new maps over the time, and sure, we're okay, but that's like where a lot of the replayability comes in on a console. So that's probably where they're going with that. What were you gonna say?
That was going to be my next question. Who do you think this is going to appeal to the most? That type of player, or is it going to bring in much of the MMO crowd? Do you think it's pretty much going to be the kind of Halo crowd? I think it
depends on what kind of where your mindset is as an MMO player. I definitely bringing in this guy. Like, this is the game pretty much so far what I've seen. This is the game I've been wanting to play for years. It's the way it's set up. It's something I've wanted it for years, because the old school MMO model has its place, and then you've got what consoles have been doing in RPGs, but nobody has. Borderlands was kind of the closest thing to coming in between the two of them to try and bridge that ground between those two types of players. And I still think Borderlands kind of missed a few things.
Yeah, Destiny, it still leans the other direction.
Go ahead,
Justin. I was gonna say, it sounds sort of like as far as the level thing, what Guild Wars did with their first thing. You got the max level 20 was its max, but there was still just so much progression beyond that. You still went and did all the other content. It was still difficult for you. They had you actually went up against like level 24 mobs, even though you were level 20 was the max for your character in the game. And so I mean, that's sort of what it sounds like. And so that idea that, well, we don't need level progression being so huge. We can just have progression in other factors between your skill, gear, and everything. So honestly, it sounds nice that I don't have to sit there and be questioning.
I'm going to question you guys. I want to ask you guys some questions. But first, I'll take a quick break and talk about our sponsors. We got to take a break for our sponsors. So, WildStar. Got to thank sponsors WildStar for supporting This Week in MMO. If you're watching This Week in MMO, full-on true traditional MMO with all the bells and whistles is definitely WildStar. It's the first one in years. First one in God knows how long. That's got everything. Everything you could possibly want. They just released their first update, the Strain. Huge update. What did we say? It was like 238,000 hot tubs, the size of the new zones. Month in, something crazy like that. I don't remember that. Wasn't that ridiculous? They had some crazy stat of how big the new zones were. It was something like 240,000 hot tubs or something. Yeah, if you guys haven't checked out WildStar, definitely go check it out. It is a AAA MMO through and through with all the bells and whistles, raids, PvE, PvP, tons of progression. Just plays amazing. The PvP is, everybody's loving the PvP. And we do the show here, UDSP. We got Farhan. He loves the PvP. War plots. There's so many components. It's amazing how many features Carbine was able to pack in to a brand new MMO right out of the gate. I'm still amazed by it. Most MMOs take like what, 5 years, 10 years to kind of come up with all this content.
Yeah, they launch. People automatically start asking, "Hey, where's this? Hey, where's this? Hey, where's that?"
Housing, it's PvP, war plots, which I haven't even started playing war plots yet. I really need to get in.
I need to do war plots. I need to check out war.
If you guys have not checked that out, go over to gboffer.com/wildstar. Check it out. There's the standard edition and the deluxe edition, which gives you a bunch of extra perks as well. I bought the deluxe. I always buy the deluxe. I think the deluxe gives you the, you get the hoverboard. You got to get the hoverboard. The game's got hoverboards. My fantasies of Back to the Future.
If you're as old as we are, you have wanted those as long as you can remember.
Seriously.
I have several.
Check it out today.
I only use the hoverboard.
Only use the hoverboard.
It goes over.
Go on over today. Support Game Breaker by supporting our sponsors, WildStar. Go over to gboffer.com/wildstar and pick it up. All right, I'm going to throw it back over to you guys. I'm going to throw this to you. Actually, I'm going to ask you guys. So, I don't know. You guys are big MMO fans. I mean, you've been playing MMOs for years, following Gamebreaker for years, long before this. I mean, where are you guys at? Do you guys both feel? Do you have the itch to kind of like break out of the traditional MMO mold of what it is? Because it's, you know, over the past like 20 years, MMOs have kind of stuck to one thing. We kind of know what those things are, and Destiny's
and even if they do one thing a little different, there's still so much more that's just like everything else out there. So yeah, I mean, definitely, I think we're all ready to look at something different and see something different and play something different. Now whether or not this is gonna, like, obviously even the questions I were asking you, you could, you know, my MMO brain was trying to wrap around what this game is in an MMO kind of way, and which is probably the wrong direction. But so I don't know if this is the one, but to see games do this and to start bridging that gap, and I think we all, from a distance, you can kind of see it coming. More and more games are bridging the gap between single-player RPG, you know, the shooter multiplayers and the online. Everything's starting to become online, and that's really starting to mesh everything together. So I mean, this sounds like a first big step in sort of all games just kind of becoming one game instead of MMOs and RPGs. It's just going to be games, and we're all online and we all play together, and it sounds exciting. Whether or not as an MMO player, I'm still iffy, and it's on console. PC Master Race, come on.
I mean, my problem with MMOs for the longest time now has been that this open world they give you with all these tasks, not quests in it, that fill up the whole zone. I feel like that's just there for, that's almost like a fan service of the thing. Like, oh, well, you won't call us an MMORPG. You'll get all mad about it if we don't have this huge open world for you to do hundreds of different little things. It's like the old enjoyment of MMOs was originally that open world, and that was the first thing, I guess, that drew people on, but it doesn't have its own merit anymore. So they create it there to throw you into a world, to say they have it, but then all their cool stuff is all the instance things. All the personal story in WildStar, that's instance. You got PvP is all instance. The raids is all the instance. Even in WildStar, you have the adventures, you've got the dungeons, you got dungeons in other games, and WoW, and raids and stuff. That's all the stuff that people are grasping to want to do. And the rest of the world feels like it's a waste of development time, almost, when they could just add more of that awesome content that people want to do. So, yeah, I'm kind of done with the old model. It doesn't provide me anything interesting when you look in theme park-wise, I guess, or in just doing PvE stuff.
Now, the other interesting thing about this, the difference being, you know, you mentioned, Troy, before. You said, you know, who are they grabbing at here? Like, who do they get? The console player? Do they get the MMO player? What's really interesting, so like when we originally kept saying, like, you know, looking at Elder Scrolls Online, if that's supposed to come out on PS4 as well, and we were in, but
maybe
again,
someday.
Well, yeah, but that's a straight up traditional MMO, right? Like they can maybe not be afraid to call it an MMO, but it's straight up traditional MMO. They want charging $15 a month for. They're saying that if it does come out on the PS4, they're going to be charging $15 a month for it on that. We always kind of said that was kind of like odd. That will the console player understand why they're paying an extra $15 a month on top of their PlayStation Plus account, which costs them like $12 or $13 a month than to play this one game. Whereas Destiny, you know, it's just, you just play it. I mean, you need a PlayStation Plus account to play the PvP. That is something I should note, that if you do not have a Plus account, you don't have access to the multiplayer. So you do need to have a Plus account. Yeah, you do need to have a Plus account to actually get to the PvP.
Now, if you don't have a Plus account, can you just do the PvE?
Yeah, you can totally, you can play the PvE, and you'll see other players.
People,
no, you'll see people. Yeah, you'll see. It's just the multiplayer maps.
So PvP people like me are just like we're going to charge you all extra. What is this?
Yeah, I wonder why. I did you really think about the reason behind that?
I don't know. They're going to have more servers of that.
I don't know. You don't choose a server or anything like that. I don't know. I didn't even think about it honestly because I have an account. I think most PlayStation owners have that. I mean, it's a pretty good offering, so like I never really questioned it, but I'm sure there are people out there that don't have it. But
do we know if the servers for PvE are local hosted? If whoever first goes there actually creates a map and then it's hosted on theirs?
Who knows? I have no idea how this works. It's voodoo. Basically, I say, hey, I want to play this. I want to do Crucible, and it says finding players, and it counts up, and then you're in a map. That's pretty much all you see. So there's no lobbies.
The wizard from the moon makes it happen. That's all you need to know.
Pretty much. I guess the big thing, so for people watching this show who are big-time traditionalists, sort of like MMO players, the big question becomes is it something that they'll want to play? And what I don't see Destiny having is the huge social component, which I think a lot of MMO players like that about MMOs. For a lot of players, MMOs like Ironforge and places of things like that become just social hubs. It becomes a chat room. It becomes just a hangout. You
log in and just run circles around the town while you talk to your friends.
Yeah, you're not going to have that with Destiny. At least I don't see that happening at all.
I've done that in WildStar the past week. All I did was run in and talk to people while I ran around in my home.
I don't see you having that at all in Destiny. I don't see that having that social camaraderie, like big group sort of mentality, like, to kind of stick in there and be like, oh my God, I've got all these friends that are in Destiny and I have to log in and hang out with them. Like, and I don't see that happening. I mean, do you guys see that happening?
It doesn't sound like it. It sounds more like I just kind of jump in, you randomly get groups of people, shoot some stuff, and then when you're done, you're just done.
I think
it sounds like to me.
It might happen on the PvP end. It depends on how fleshed out the PvP side is, because there are plenty of guilds for PvP shooters and stuff, and if that's fleshed out pretty strong for them, they might create it. But as far as the PvE, I think it's really just going to be texting your friend, hey, let's jump on Destiny, or you just get on yourself and run with people.
And again, on the PvP side, yeah, I could see players like running that a lot, but it's going to be more of a traditional sort of like person who would play a Halo or something that just they're playing a map-based FPS shooter on a console. It's going to have that sort of feel. Like if it becomes really tight and really competitive, people will keep playing those maps. But that's the extent of what you're going to be doing in Destiny once you finish the story, probably. Like, I don't know. But they do. Now, here's an interesting thing there. Here's something I don't know. They say there's going to be something new to do in Destiny every day.
That just sounds like a challenge.
Brand new or cycle?
No, they've said they
challenge.
Yeah, no, and they have said that is going to. I mean, they have to do that. I mean, you're showing like something new every day. Yeah, it is going to be some stuff like that. But the other thing that's interesting is if you go into the tower and you go look at the map. It shows you where everything is on the map. There is an area down by your trainers that says events, and it's not working right now, but it's marked on the map as events. So don't necessarily know exactly what that's going to be and how often those things are going to happen and what kind of stuff that is going to go on there. I have no idea. Plus, on top of that, I should mention that when you're doing some of the outdoor mission stuff, you'll be go through an area and you get an alert, and basically like a public event sort of happens. And it's kind of, it's what you'd expect from a public event. Random encounter happens where ships start dropping in, tons of horde mode, mobs start dropping in, and basically you're defending them. And there's usually a boss. You got to kill the boss, and it takes a while. It's a little bit of fun. So, we've seen that in other games.
There's a rift.
Yeah, so there's more going on than just the static points on the map to go to.
Yep.
They're just like alive and kind of happening in front of you.
Yeah, and it adds a really nice flair to it as well, just to kind of something else that kind of distracts you for a couple minutes. And they don't take a long time, With a good group, it was like 10 minutes maybe, and we were done with one of them, and then you were back on doing your own thing. But a nice distraction because you roll through that area, and it kind of changes and does something a little bit different.
Any super epic boss fights you want to tell us about?
Oh, my God. So there's one, there's one, and he's not even the final boss, but in the lair... about, I guess, a little bit more than midway through, there's this mechanical robot thing, and three of us. And the problem, the issue was that we kept running out of ammo. I think I was the first one out of ammo. And that's one thing about the game that's interesting too, that just as a side note, is that I kept wanting to look all over nooks and crannies, thinking in most FPSs, you just find ammo packs and things like this. Yeah. Don't seem to have that aspect to it. Don't seem to just find random things for no reason kind of strewn out throughout the world, which I kind of like. So it wasn't this just sort of we'll search enough and you'll find something kind of thing. Anyway, but oh my God, so we were banging our heads on this one robot forever. And again, it's to the point where you're just going are we ever going to beat this thing? Because this is taking a really long time. You get hit by this thing once and you're dead. And we keep running out of ammo. But somehow you know, it would still drop in new mobs to kill. You'd kill a couple, you'd get an ammo pack, you'd fire everything, you did the thing. Eventually, after about 25 minutes, 30 minutes, or about 20 minutes, we finally killed this freaking thing. And it was great. Like, we killed it, we were all happy, and moved on to the next thing. That wasn't even the final boss.
Was it lots of nice mechanics where you had to move around and get out of stuff and move in and out?
I mean, I have to say, like, not yet.
Actually,
I mean,
this is a shooter, right? So unlike like MMOs, like as we know them, usually you fire your abilities, tab target, hit them, or WildStar. As long as they're hitting my area. This is a shooter though. Is there headshots? Is there fighting a boss? You gotta hit its arm. Like is there different body parts? Like you have to actually stop.
Yeah, when you start firing at that boss, like there were different areas of the boss that you would clearly see were more armored. So if you shot like sort of, you know, the legs, you were getting like 45, 50, you know, points of damage with each bullet. If you shot above that where it was heavily armored, you were getting like 7. So you were meant to try and take the legs out first and kind of cripple it and have it stop moving, and then, you know, wear it down to the point that the front of it kind of like gets destroyed, and then like where its brain is, you would shoot that, and then that would take the whole thing down. But it's less, you know, MMOs traditionally have like that group coordination thing of like, well, we need the healers to stand here and take out the ads and then do this, and then it's not, at least that's the first one in the game. They throw this at you at like level 6, so you're really low level, but it doesn't have that like group coordination kind of like, oh my god, do this, then do that, and do this, then do that, like, you know, all phasing and all kinds of crazy things happen. I'm sure they probably get more intricate as time goes on, and probably more things happen at later levels, but it was a lot of fun.
If the first one's fun though, I mean, then you're pretty excited to see the rest of it.
It was fun.
Is there anything with the interaction of the environment with it? Like, when you're fighting that boss, can you interact somehow with the environment, shoot something down to knock it down,
No, didn't see anything like that in there. So didn't see anything like that in the game. Most of the fixtures in the game, it's, you know, a lot of times now, like with certain games, like the physics are really big. So like when you just like, you know, bump into like things, they knock over and stuff. Most of the items in Destiny are fixed. So like they're just placed and you can't like push them. There are some areas where they have done some stuff with physics, but it's like they're usually just pretty meaningless. I think they're there I think they're there just more for flavor, that you could knock into them. Man, the lighting is unbelievable. The lighting when you're going through buildings, oh my god! Like in the beginning, you just walk into this area, and I'm just looking at this, and there's all these lens flares and like refraction of light through your helmet, and I'm like, it looks so freaking cool. It's like unbelievable.
Just imagine how good it would look on PC.
Oh yes, I imagine.
Well, I'm right now just like want to look at my wallet, going, how much does that PS4 cost?
Well, we don't have it right now.
That's a good question. If you don't own a console, would this persuade you to buy one?
Oh man, I knew you were going to put me on the spot.
So, should I buy a PS4 for Destiny?
So I don't want to tell you what to do, but I will tell you that when my buddy stood in the middle of his living room and finished the lair, he doesn't have a PS4. Immediately said he's buying a PS4. That's all I can say. I don't know. Would I buy? I don't know. I personally, I don't know. Would I buy a PS4 for one game? I think there's probably a lot of good games coming out for the PS4 now. I feel like on initial launch, I bought it on launch. I have had almost nothing to do with it since I've purchased it.
Yeah, that's been a big problem.
Yeah, it was terrible. Like I bought, you know, Assassin's Creed, and I bought the other terrible shooter that wishes it could be good. What the hell was it called? I can't remember. Killzone.
Titanfall or Killzone?
No, Killzone. That came out for PS4.
Yeah. Titanfall was Xbox. Yeah.
And I haven't really done anything with it. This is the first game that I'm like, wow, there's an amazing game on the PS4 now to play. And this is definitely the first amazing game to play on the PS4. One thing that's totally, as soon as I started playing this game, the other thing I can tell you about it, like if you want to get to like a technical thing, the level designers at Bungie are like freaking wizards, man. Like they're heretics. They're so good at level design. It's amazing because they've created these big outdoor environments that and a great example is Killzone, because if you've played Killzone on PS4, you probably in chat room, I'm sure somebody in there has played it, agree or disagree. You started playing Killzone, you were immediately, like within the first 30 minutes, like lost on the map at certain points. You didn't know where to really go. You kind of were like confused. You kind of went up to this area. Like the level design was so wonky and just terrible and just shitty that you really were confused at all, like a lot of the times of your direction. Bungie they've created these really large outdoor maps that take you into certain directions, and there's never ever a point in time where you're like, you don't know where to go. But it doesn't necessarily feel like, oh, there's only this like slight little corridor for me to go down. That must be the way I have to go. I mean, of course they do that when you're inside of areas and stuff, but the level design is just brilliant. It's just brilliant.
I mean, I guess it all comes down to wondering, like, how long can this game do you think hold people? Like, is Bungie going to keep developing content more and more for it throughout the next month? Are they going to have a content cycle that they have?
See, that's what I think. Two things. That's what we don't know a couple of things, but I don't think you can look at it like that, like an MMO. See, you're back now thinking about like old school MMOs, and you're just, you know, are you going to be on a month cadence and you're going to send me a new raid? And like, no, I don't think you should look at it like that, because I don't think it's that. I think you're going to see more maps probably open up in PvP. I don't think you're going to get more story until Destiny #2 comes out. Like, they're planning on this to be, I think, a 7 title
10, I think,
series 10. And that's where I think you're going to get that content. That's why I said I don't think it's going to have that social sort of like, I've got to constantly stay in here every night, wake up, you know, or every night log in with my, you know, I got to hang out with my raid group on Tuesdays. I don't think it's going to have that. It's going to have more of like how you play consoles. Hey, what do you feel like doing tonight? You want to play some Titanfall? No, let's play some Destiny. All right, cool. Let's jump in and play some Destiny. Like, that's what it's going to be like. I think. I don't, and like I said, I think they're going to try and build in things for you to do, like events and stuff, but I would not expect like story packs to be dropping and more, you know, maybe they'll do DLC.
And I think that's the hardest thing you're going to have to get through to MMO players. That idea that, and it's not that they have to worry about it. They've got tons of console people who are used to it. But I'm thinking from an MMO player looking and considering it, we have that feeling of always logging on every single day as opposed to just when you want to play it.
Yeah, I don't think it's that. I mean, have we really ever heard them talk about Destiny and call it an MMO, though? We really haven't heard them. They've talked about
it's like an online
components.
Universe. No, I've just heard other people kind of compare it to, and I guess because of this weird hybridization, some people like us have a hard time separating that part of it from MMO, because I've heard so many contradictory things about what this game is that I was so confused before we started into today. That's why I was like, okay, at least Gary's going to talk about it. Maybe I can come out of here with a better understanding of what this game actually is, because I've heard people compare it to MMOs. I've heard people compare it to Halo, and I'm here in the middle, not even owning a console where I can play it, going, what the heck is this thing?
I mean, the closest I think you have, if you want a direct comparison, like a particular title to talk about, which I still don't think it really truly compares, is Borderlands 2. Like, if you've played Borderlands and you've kind of had that experience, I feel like they've taken that to the next level. So they've taken some aspects of MMO levels, gear progression, a social area, combined that with what they do best, which is, you know, single player RPG and PvP straight up shooter. And then they've really, I feel like they've really taken what co-op is to a new level. Like, that is, I guess it's more in line with that. It's more of like they've taken co-op to another level and they've added some MMO elements on top of it. I think if you guys get a chance to play it, I really recommend everyone to check it out, because it's really kind of hard to explain how it feels. And it's very seamless. Like, that's what feels really good about it. It just feels like it just happens. Like, it doesn't really feel like forced. It doesn't feel like I had to do a lot of work.
It's a seamless online experience.
Yeah, like I just went to do this mission, and all of a sudden I dropped in, and like the first time I dropped into old Russia when I was doing my first mission, I was very surprised to actually see other people, because I thought it was just one. I wasn't in a party, I wasn't in a group, and I was like, oh, there's people here. Interesting. Like, that's interesting, you know, like that. It just kind of happens like that. So, are you guys gonna buy a PS4? I should plug our deal.
It depends on some job offers.
We don't have it right now, but it'd be a good time. We had on the GameBreaker.tv/deals page for about a week, brand new inbox PS4s for like $350 or $359. That deal's gone. It's now back to $4 something, but who knows? Yeah,
you gotta keep your eye on the deals page, because it comes and goes like that.
Destiny pre-order box will pop up soon.
Yeah, I don't know. I know they've got a PS4. Know. I know they do have a Destiny PS4 version with the game. I think it's white, isn't it?
Oh, is that the special white one they announced at E3 or whatever?
I think so. I think you can buy the PS4 with Destiny. I forget how many days you got left on beta. I mean, all I can say for most people out there who have a lot of questions on it, it's really hard. I think most people got to play it. The one thing I found, and so did my buddy found, is that like it's very addictive. It's incredibly fun. Gameplay feels great. We didn't even talk about the combat that much, other than I can say like I think it feels awesome. I mean, I'm not like, you know, some competitive FPS player, but damn, I noticed that the guns felt really, really good, and the gameplay is really fun. So I don't know, go find a buddy who's got a PS4.
If it's fun and it's addictive, what else can you say about it?
Yeah,
I mean, that's what a game's for.
Well, the gear progression of the MMO player in us, that's where like the sort of like the carrot is enough that the gear, you're just like, as soon as you upgrade those like boots, you're like, woo, I got new boots. And you usually don't have that in single player RPGs, you know, like you don't really have that feeling, but like every time you get a new piece of gear, you're like, woo, I got a new piece of gear. Yay. But it also,
can you actually kind of feel that too? Like feel the difference in that case? Like, cause you're pretty first person. So like, do you move faster or anything like that? Or,
well, no, I mean, not move faster, but you definitely feel like you're getting stronger and you can take more damage and your guns are better. Like you definitely feel the difference when you start upgrading stuff. And on the flip side, the one thing that I really like about it is it has that feeling that we kind of like about MMOs, but it doesn't do it over the top to the point that Borderlands did it. So I actually don't love Borderlands 2. Like I did not really enjoy it. I know people freaking love that game beyond belief. I actually wasn't a fan. I wanted to really like it because I wanted that 4-player co-op experience sort of thing. I hated the loot pinata. I hated I thought the guns actually are kind of shitty in that game and that they kind of hide a lot of stuff. And the fact that like every time you freaking turned around, there was just like loot, 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 loot. It was like overwhelming that there was just shit being thrown at you, almost like Diablo kind of style.
Yeah, like action RPG.
And
so I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Destiny gets the Gary Gannon stamp of approval.
Yeah, I would say probably does so far. Yeah, beta I think is fantastic. I mean, who knows? I mean, again, I'm looking at this though from the standpoint again that I'm gonna buy Destiny. I'm going to play all the story stuff. I will occasionally do PvP stuff and jump in. But then I'm totally okay with that thing's going to go and sit on the shelf. Like, you're not going to be launching Destiny.
Right? There's no sub fee. Free-to-play cash shop.
No, there's no cash shop. So this is not, like, that's what I'm saying. I'm not looking at this like I would even look at another MMO. You know, it's not World of Warcraft. It's not WildStar. It's not one of these games you're going to like be playing for years to come. I mean, hopefully it'll scratch a lot of people's itch for the next year, and maybe, I don't know what their cycle is going to be between titles, but it's going to much more be like, oh, I bought GTA or I bought Battlefield 4 and I played the single player and I'm done with that now. I'm going to play something else. It's going to be like that.
I'm more intrigued than I was an hour ago. much more intrigued, much more interested. I couldn't have cared much less for a console-only game, but it sounds interesting. It sounds exciting. It sounds like maybe just we're witnessing one of those baby steps in the evolution of gaming. I mean, this could turn out to be something big.
I think this is it. I think it's definitely it. I mean, I definitely think that they've changed enough to where it feels new and refreshing, and it feels like they actually pushed the boundaries, and kind of other game companies are probably going to have to now
step up their game.
SO console 2016. Remake that stuff.
JKK, follow him on Twitter, JKK Kennedy TV, and of course right here on TWIMMO. We're gonna be switching days on TWIMMO, but we'll talk about that soon. Follow him on Twitter, JKK Kennedy TV. Troy, follow him on the Twitters at NoobFridge, and check out all his writings over on GameBreaker.tv as well. You can follow me at GameBreaker TV, or follow me at Gary Gannon, and follow GameBreaker TV as well, the Facebook page. And big announcement coming out this week for GameBreaker. Huge announcement. Like, probably the biggest thing we've ever announced. Hopefully by Tuesday. I don't have an exact day yet. I'm shooting for Tuesday. It might be Wednesday, but hopefully Tuesday. So watch our Facebook and our Twitter. A huge announcement for anyone out there who makes YouTube videos, live streams, podcasts, anything like that. If you do any one of those three things, you're definitely going to want to pay attention to what we have to offer come Tuesday or Wednesday. So
you're going to like it.
Yep. All right, everybody. Have a great week. We'll see you next week for some more TWIMMO.